Okay, now that I have my own kitchen, I wanted to make some cute aprons to wear around. I honestly couldn't decide on the style, so I thought, you know what, I'll just make all of them. So here's not only a video of me making them, but also a little recap of different styles that were worn in the past. There were a lot of different styles worn in the 1900s, the more working class, all-white, full-length, lacy aprons that we are sort of familiar with because movie maids are usually dressed like that. There were patterned pinafores, there were smaller pieces that were just sort of hanging around your waist, while majority of the aprons at the time featured some kind of shoulder straps or yokes. I found this image of a gingham apron and I decided to go for it because I really liked it. I cut out a rectangle for the apron, a smaller rectangle for the pocket, and strips of fabric for the waistband and ties. Luckily for me, the original image mentions that the apron is 50 inches wide, so I could sort of base my apron on that. While the original is most likely made of several panels, I thought it will probably not look good without a similarly cut skirt underneath, so I just made mine from a rectangle, I don't care. First, I hemmed all the edges of the apron except the top one. Then I figured out the placement of the pocket and I sewed it on. Funnily enough, it blends with the apron so well that you can't even see it's there. So if I had to do it again, I would probably cut the pocket on bias just so it shows more, because like, what's the point? I then gathered the top of the apron. No, I do not own a gathering foot, and I sewed the strap onto the top of the skirt. Really simple, really cool, cottagecore, Edwardian housemaid vibes, but looks really awkward when the skirt is not full length, not gonna lie. Why do you try to awaken memory? Next up, I wanted to do a 1930s one, and let me tell you, 30s and 40s had so many cute apron designs, I literally did not know which one to choose. This video is sponsored by Love and Pies. Honestly, what better integration than a mobile game that is all about cooking, baking, renovating. Love and Pies is a merge to mobile game that is free to play. It can be played on a phone and a tablet. The game follows Amelia Green as she moves back to her village after a messy divorce and tries to uncover some family secrets, as well as renovate a family cafe. It is a really wholesome and relaxing game set in a cozy town of Appleton. A game with, dare I say, incredibly cute and diverse character designs. Part of the game reminds me of those online games I used to play as a teen, you know, when you had to like serve customers at your cafe with different baked goodies and beverages. But apart from that, in Love and Pies you also get to follow the story as it slowly unravels, and you also make design choices when it comes to renovating the cafe. So if you're into relaxing, cute mobile games, this one's definitely for you. You can download Love and Pies using the link below, and thank you to Love and Pies for sponsoring this video, and let's get back to aprons. Eventually I sort of mixed two different designs, this one with apple-shaped appliques and this one with shell-shaped pockets. First I cut out the top part, and because I'm not using any pattern and generally speaking winging it all the time, I had to cut down a bit to end up with the shape I wanted to. Also, I had no idea how it's supposed to lay flat on your chest, but I remember 1930s dresses and blouses have some volume in that area, so it should probably work. I then measured the preferred length of the bottom part and cut out a shape I thought was more or less like the one in the picture, and it kind of worked, but don't do it at home. Then of course the ties, and let me tell you, after all the aprons were done, I never want to see anything even resembling a strip of fabric ever again. Like, all of the ties just made me nauseous. I hemmed the top part and stitched it to the bottom part, then hemmed all of the remaining edges, which was not fun since the edges were round and I did not have a proper foot to do it. And what is even worse, I still don't have an iron here, and the mini one I had is not here at the moment, so I couldn't press any of the seams, which proved problematic. I then took a piece of red wool to draw and cut out apple-shaped pockets. Was I using a Sharpie? Very likely. Now, mind you, it is possible that this fabric bleeds red. which would be a crying shame, not gonna lie. That is why, after carefully placing it in the right spots, I stitched the pockets on using a very wide and loose stitch, just in case I have to rip them off for laundry. But I'm gonna test the wool in the meantime and see if it's gonna be necessary, if it bleeds. And honestly, this one turned out so cute. Like, the shape is just so 1930s, and the apple pockets, it's just to die for, not gonna lie.
Why do you try to waken memory? Why talk about the days that you...
Again, there were so many cute 1940s designs that I didn't know what to decide on, but there was this heart-shaped one that appeared a lot, so I decided to go for it. I had this cute viscose fabric and I decided to use the selvage to make a frill. Then I again sort of improvised the apron shape and hoped for the best. I also cut shoulder straps that would later be folded and sewed close. I gathered the frill and sewed it onto one layer of linen heart that I cut out. I then stitched on another linen heart and turned the whole thing inside out. I gathered the top of the apron, sewed the shoulder straps closed, and turned them inside out, and then top stitched the edges so they lay more flat. And voila, this one screams, I'm about to make some heart-shaped cookies, and I just love it. I could have stiffened the heart piece a little so it's not so flimsy, but also it's an apron, so who cares? Even though there were also plenty of cute aprons around in the 1950s, I knew exactly which one I wanted to make straight away. This is a strapless apron that appeared in a 1950s magazine that I saw on Instagram, and I just died. It is described as having stays in bib, fits like off-the-shoulder evening gown, and conforms beautifully to the curvature of figure. Just the thing to make you look your very best at your party. It is described also as made of vinyl plastic, so I was looking for a thick table cover-like fabric, but eventually settled on this fake leather because that was the best I got. I wanted it to be patterned though, so I painted some hearts on using a cardboard stencil and acrylic paint, and again, with all the pieces, I sort of improvised. I measured the length between the top of the bodice and my waist and allowed that to sort of guide the rest. The fabric was a mess to work with, like who even invented that? It would probably do better with dedicated needles and foot, but I just ended up using a lot of hot glue because it seemed like an appropriate solution. I glued zip ties to the front seams and the side edges, and I also glued layers of the ties together because I couldn't sew them together and I didn't want them to be one layer. Now this one is probably supposed to be worn over a strapless cocktail dress, but I don't have one on me, so I'm pretending it's supposed to be backless. The fit of the top part could be fixed by taking in the very top of the seams, but overall, I love how this one turned out. It's so elegant and it just screams hostess with the mostess who's about to make you a killer drink. So I really love this particular model from a 1960s catalog. So I took this striped fabric, which, not gonna lie, screams more 18th century than 1960s, but this is what I had. And I again cut a rectangle using the fact that the bottom and one side were already hemmed, and then I used some of the remaining fabric to cut out the pockets. And then I gathered the top of the apron, checked if it makes sense, stitched the waistband on and made the ties. I didn't stitch the ties to the waistband. I admit I was a little confused about the pocket because the picture is not the best quality and it seems like the pocket is attached to the waistband somehow. I decided to undo a little of my waistband stitch and sew the pocket edges under the waistband. And voila! This is the last apron, by the way. I hope you enjoyed this little apron journey through the decades, and see ya! Bye!